Hello and welcome back, PlayBASIC coders. Ran into a problem the other day while building an MD2 loader for our little Wolfenstein Polywolf engine, and the problem was that a lot of the models come with PCX files for the texture. Now, it turns out they're not that easy to load anymore because they're an obsolete format. So anyway, I had to write one because when I use the internal library FreeImage version, whatever version we've got, what you're seeing here is my version up top and the FreeImage version at the bottom. So it's quicker to use the FreeImage one. In this case, they load in 3 milliseconds. Mine does anyway. It's about 1 millisecond. Actually, that one's a good example. They're much more slower to load when they're large and they're either 1-bit or 4-bit because they're planar. It's an old image format going back to the days where machines used to use planar displays for graphics rather than what's commonly known as chunky now modes. People in the DOS world would understand what 8-bit chunky was all about, a byte per pixel, that kind of stuff. So those ones are easy to load. They load, they're probably 3 or 4 times slower than even that one's got an error in the FreeImage version. So there's something wrong with that loader. I pretty much spent yesterday tweaking it to get it to load. It'll load 2-bit, which is 1-bit plain actually, and 4-bit plain for 16 colors. It'll also load 8-bit, which is what this one here is. They're compressed. Probably the simplest one to load would be an 8-bit 256 color one. The 4-bit and 24-bit are kind of awkward to load because they've got the data split up into planes. They're actually 24-bit, those ones. So that's some animations and stuff in here. All kinds of weird stuff. There are actually some prototypes of an engine, of a game idea a guy was thinking about doing for the Amiga about 25 years ago. He's wondering if I would be interested in doing it or helping. So all of that aside, what we've really got here is, so I've written a library that we can plug into, just drop into your project, and when you call the load PCX file or image PCX image up here, it will return an image handle of whatever. What we're going to do with this, of course, is drop it into the Polywolf engine so we can load MD2s, and if it has a texture associated with that MD2 and it's in the same folder, we should just be able to load that transparently, and that it's much easier to do that. I'd much rather they were PNG or something like that, which we could just load natively anyway, but such is life. The library is a bit of a mess, really. It's got some debugging stuff in there too. So if you're running this in debug mode, you get some messages in the debugger if things go wrong. That should give you something to go on. The way it works, if you didn't realize this, it just loads the file into a bank. We use read memory to do that. We check the header. We really probably should do a pre-header check here and then load the whole thing in after that, but which would be quicker on some systems. Here we're loading the whole image into memory and then we're going, is it the correct format or not? Yeah, maybe not. Got a palette if we need one. I was looking up this header format. There's a bit of weird stuff in it. Some things I'm not 100% sure on. So even though I've got this library, it may or may not load some images correctly. So that's the caveat we want to put out there. I think in the future we'll try and make more of these libraries in user space rather than build them in. So when you don't need a certain thing, it's not part of the engine. It's bloating out everything, and the more stuff you build into these things, you end up with the footprint gets large very quickly. Sometimes we need helper functions. Like in this one here, you could probably have a chunky to planar or a planar to chunky routine. So what bit planes are is a 16 color image is split up, or pixel is split across. It requires 4-bit planes. So each bit from that four to make up the 16 color pixel are split in different bytes. So we have to read the bytes, reassemble them back into a color index that we can look up later, use the index to look up the color, the 24-bit color that we can output to the frame buffer, or in this case our image. So there's a bit of messing around. Yeah, we meant to make a table up here to help us do some of that translation outside of the main loop. We get into the guts of it. We're running through the buffer from line 0 down, working out where this scan line is going to be in that buffer. Our destination row as well. Then working through whatever number the bit planes are. And for each row, we're reading the bytes out and then acting accordingly. If there's nothing if this byte is 0, there are no set bits on it, so let's just ignore that completely and skip over it. Same goes for these circumstances here, where we know the pattern is a particular response. You could actually have... actually, it's not really worth it. I was going to say you could have all of the permutations as like a select case or a jump table, but I think generally it's probably not worth it. Anyways, my point with doing the planar to chunky stuff, really, it's kind of clumsy to do. You could have this particular part of the code here, this thing here, as like a built-in feature in the back end of sort of memory translation inside PlayBASIC. So you can do all the grunt work in user space and then call the routine to do the actual heavy workload. I think in the future that's probably not really, it's not really that necessary, given that most of this stuff will be able to be translated to be native anyway. Like you could just as easily run this library through PlayBASIC to DLL, use it in 1.6.5, 1.6.4 editions today, and it would load just as well as what FreeImage does. Probably a bit slower here and there, who knows. But that does a pretty good translation of your code into machine code. It's kind of the road we're heading on. But for now, it's just a library. You include it, and you can load PCX files, and life goes on. That's the point of having libraries. All right, dude. I'll put the library up in the normal place in the forums, in the maintenance area. So if you need it, you know where to go and get it. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.